You won't believe what this software can do, because I sure did. And while Adobe has always been a leader in media and editing tools, this time it shattered the mold and created a tool that instantly makes you a photo editing pro. Watch on and I'll show you why Adobe Firefly will be an indispensable tool in your belt. I'm AiAtom and I show you the coolest AI and automation tools, and in this video we're going to go in depth into Adobe Firefly. I'm going to show you all of the ins and outs of this incredible software and get you up and running so you can compete on par with the best Photoshop experts. That's right, open the software from the link in the description and let's dive into it. Firefly is Adobe's answer to Midjourney and Leonardo with generative AI, and it is really mind-blowing what they've been able to accomplish so far. Not only does it have a great feature called generative fill that we'll get into in depth, but it can also do the things that the other ones can do, like text to image, and coming soon, generative video, which is going to be a huge add-on. So in this video, we're going to go in depth into the features that Adobe currently has, and I'm going to show you some pro tips to really utilize generative fill along with text to image. But first, let's take a look at one of the key features that might be a little underappreciated, and that is the fact that you can use generative AI and Firefly within the other Adobe suite offerings. So you can actually use it within things like Photoshop, Lightroom, Illustrator, and Adobe Express, which, if this is your set of key tools, can be a huge add-on. Now, before we jump into using Firefly, let's take a look at pricing. Adobe has a very broad pricing model that caters to individuals, businesses, or gives you discounts if you're a student or a teacher or a part of a school or university. But in this case, we're going to take a look at the individual pricing. So you can get a Creative Cloud with all of the different applications and full access for $59.99 a month. But if you're just interested in Firefly, you can get that individually, and it's here for $4.99 a month for an individual. Now, this can come out to $49.99 a year, and it comes with 100 gigabytes of cloud storage, Adobe fonts, and 100 generative credits per month, along with the ability to remove the watermarks from your images. So this can be really worth it if you're using it for businesses or to generate and modify images. So now that we have an understanding of the pricing, let's get into Firefly. Adobe Firefly has the same generative capabilities of things like Midjourney or Leonardo, but it's not a standalone tool. Not only can it do text to image, but it also has some really amazing features like generative fill, generating templates, and generating vector images that are paired with other types of software in the Adobe Cloud software offering. So this is really interesting if you want to add this in to enhance things like Photoshop or Adobe Illustrator with generative capabilities. And you can see here a lot of the different options that it allows, like text effects, generative recolor, or creating vectors in concert with some of its other softwares. But let's jump into Firefly as a standalone and do things like text to image and then generative fill, which is really the highlight of Firefly for me. Now we can get started with Firefly with the generate bar, and Firefly can take full text descriptions for images just like a lot of the other image generators online. So I'm going to enter in a prompt here, and it's a bear standing in a field of white flowers on a cloudy day with large blimps and flying machines flying overhead in a comic book style, illustration highly detailed. So this is a fairly extensive and complex prompt, and let's see how it does. And here we have our images. So you can see it's done a pretty great job with everything, with the exception of maybe the style that I asked for. Now let's go through these and let me show you the layout for Firefly. So over here on the general settings, you have the model that Firefly is generating from. Obviously this gets updated, so I would recommend you use the most updated model for your generations. Next you have fast mode. Now this is really just a question of quality, but you can always upscale the images that you like. So you can toggle on and off fast mode, and that will just reduce the quality, but speed up how fast it generates the images. After that, you have the aspect ratio, and you can do it in the standard square, but you also have the options to make a widescreen image, a portrait, or a landscape. So this is something that some of the competitors do not have, but it's very useful depending on what you are generating the media for. If you're making something for a TikTok video versus maybe a video for YouTube. Now, after that, you have your content type. So this is really helpful because rather than having to rely solely on your prompt to describe the image, you can choose to toggle between an art-like image or a photo-like or photorealistic image. So this just gives you a little bit more control on the images you generate. Next, you have composition. And composition is where you can upload reference images or select styles that you want your image to replicate. Now, this is super useful for creating consistent images in a specific style. So you can see I just uploaded an image here, and we'll run that in just a second, but you are able to also toggle the strength so you can choose how strongly it adheres to this image structure. Now, after this, you have styles. So while this more guides the structure of the image, styles guides the style of the image. So whether it's a comic style or an art style, this gives you a lot more control on that front. So while I have this uploaded here, it might come out with 3 bears in suits because this is an image of 3 men in suits. So I might not actually want this as a structure reference. I might want it as a style reference, and I also have the toggle here. So let me add that really quickly.
And now I have this added, so I also have a strength bar. So how visually intensive do I want the style to be, and how strong do I want the image guidance to be are my options for the styles. And you can also see that it shows up here in the prompt. Next, I have the effects. So these are different effects which influence or let you fine tune how the image looks even further. So you can see things like color and tone, lighting, and camera angle, which give you just even more control on the kinds of images that you want to create without having to rely on your prompt. So Firefly is really just very strong in giving you a lot of control over the types of images you generate from their great interface. So in effects, I'm going to choose digital art. We're going to do a vibrant color tone, and we're going to do surreal lighting. And let's see what this looks like with our different add-ons here. And we can see that the lighting effects and a little bit of the style has really improved this image or changed it in a way that I kind of like. Now, looking at the actual images, you may have noticed some of the other things that come up here. So let me show you the different options that you have here. So you're able to give feedback on the images and start teaching Adobe Firefly what you like. You're also able to favorite different images or copy or export images to things like Adobe Express. Finally, you're able to download or upscale your images with these two options up here. Now, here's where we get into the interesting stuff, and that is with edit. So here we are going to take a look at generative fill. Now I've just opened up this image in generative fill, and there are a few different options that you can use here, but generative fill is a really cool feature. So I've got insert, remove, expand, and pan here, but I'm going to start with insert, and this is going to let me insert different objects within the image and make live edits as if I was a Photoshop expert.
I'm kind of a big deal.
So I can actually go through and brush out things like this balloon here. And once I've removed that, I can choose to add in a different object. So in this case, I'm going to add in an eagle, and we'll see how it does. So let's generate this. And here you can see that it's added in an eagle where I used to have that balloon. Now I can select different ones. It gives me a few options, but you can see how well this works, where it actually edited the clouds around, kept the style of the image, and basically flawlessly added in a different object here. So once I've determined if I like a certain image, I can choose to keep it, or if I want to generate more options, I can click more here. And here we have a few more. So in this case, I'm going to go with this one, and once I hit keep, it's going to add that into the image. Now here is a pro tip. Generative fill works a lot better when you only obscure small parts of the image, so the actual areas where you want to replace an object, rather than wiping out entire swaths, because Firefly will not take the full context, rather just the style and the context around the border of the area that you use generative fill on. So the more you get rid of, the more Firefly is going to have to interpolate and make up different things.
It's all part of the plan.
What is the plan?
I kind of make it up as I go.
You also have the ability to remove, and you have this band-aid here. So I can go ahead and go across this blimp, and when I hit remove here, you will see that it is generating over this area. So rather than adding an object, it just added sky here, and that blimp is gone. We can also use this as a background remover. So you can see here with the select background, when I click this, it's going to remove all of the background items and keep just the main feature items. And I can invert that selection to just show the background. This is really useful if I wanted to, say, replace the background. So let's see if I run through and insert some. Let's go with a sandy beach. And you can see with this sandy beach background, it does have a more difficult time interpolating. So this is not going to work for me. So I'm going to go ahead and cancel that. Now the third option in generative fill is the expand option. And this is going to allow you to expand out your image and make it larger. So if I do something like this, for example, I'm going to be able to generate additional parts of the image and expand this out, which can be really useful if you generate a square image that you really like, but it turns out you need a landscape, or you just need to modify it in some ways. You can see that it does a lot better job with this because it already has the full image to work off of. Generative fill is how I created the Atom AI characters and made the modifications on that single image. So you can see how powerful it can be. So overall, and especially with the feature of generative fill, Adobe Firefly is a powerhouse in generative AI, and I highly recommend you check out this tool. And subscribe for more on automation tools and businesses.